I had a question for the officer.
Sure, what do you want to ask?
Well, I wanted to ask, I saw on a recent news video that the SWAT attorney said basically that if it looks like there's cops outside your door, to let them in. I want to know if the sheriff's department took into account that sometimes home invaders, and this has happened in Tucson, Arizona, dress as police, and if they're going to stand behind their legal advisor's statement if it looks like cops to let them in. Because it could be home invaders, and nobody's touched on this, and that guy was an attorney that gave legal advice, and it's going to happen in Tucson. Somebody's going to open the door for someone that's not cops dressed like cops, and I want to know if the sheriff's department is going to be responsible for that statement if they follow his instructions.
Okay, who's this?
Pardon?
What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron?
Yes, sir.
Okay, turn your radio off. You hear everything through the phone. This is good morning, Aaron. You're on the air, and you go right into your question. Hang on one second.
Everything else, what a union stands for, we don't like, we don't ascribe to.
Okay. Well, and Obi had a very interesting question. Obi's been asking this since last week. What is it, Obi? You thought that maybe this Jose Guarena might have thought that it was home invaders coming in?
Just as you know, I went through an instance one time where there was a police chase in my neighborhood, and the guys running away from the cops were jumping in and out of people's backyards, so the cops had to go through a house to get them, to catch them, because they hid out in somebody's backyard. So if they maybe Jose Guarena thought that this was somebody running from the cops when he heard the sirens and then blasting through his door, and he was really trying to protect himself and his family.
That's a valid point. My response to that would be, I'm not in Mr. Guarena's head, but when I hear sirens, now it wasn't siren, blam, somebody through the door. This took a little bit to develop. The sirens started first, the lights, and they're already announcing sheriff's department search warrant, in Spanish and English. This is before they force entry into the door. All they got to do is look out the window and see, and it's obvious it's not a home invasion. And then, it's cops. Well, whatever's going on, the worst move you can make is to come down a hallway with a rifle.
Right.
All right. So you satisfied now, Obi?
For now.
Fun hater. As Paul calls you. All right. Let's go to Vito. Vito, welcome to 790 KNST.
Hey, good morning.
What's happening?
Hey, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, but who could think it's a good idea to send a highly armed paramilitary force into a residential neighborhood?
Me.
Yeah, these guys are armed with high-powered weapons that can shoot through walls for 1,000 feet. The plan was ill-conceived and reckless. And, I understand the SWAT team has a role to play when there's a hostage incident or something major going down, but to send them into residential neighborhoods, our police powers are out of control.
Hang on, Vito. Before this is even addressed by the expert on the issue, how do you know that the people in the residential neighborhoods don't have high-powered weaponry and just don't care and can do all kinds of damage? How do you know that that's not going to take place?
Well, that takes place all the time.
Well, then why?
There are guys with high-powered weapons.
Well, then what's wrong with the police
I thought that was the Second Amendment right to have weapons in your own home.
Well, that's my point. What's wrong with the police and the SWAT teams having high-powered weapons to counter them?
Because you're liable to start a shootout like they did the other day and shoot.
They didn't start it.
Four people that are in houses.
You think that they started the shootout?
Yeah, I actually do. I think it was reckless. It was ill-conceived. They would have killed me if they'd have come to my house.
Why?
Because I would have had a gun too. And they didn't even give the guy a chance to call 911 and verify that they were serving a warrant on them or anything.
Okay, hang on,
These guys
Vito.
were hot to try, wanted to go in and do their job. And I understand.
Hang on, Vito. So if somebody knocks on your door and says, "Police search warrant," this is after they do what is it? It's like some kind of a firework. I'm just doing. What is it?
It's called a flashbang.
A flashbang
with lights and sirens.
Sirens, flashbang goes on, and they knock on the door. Police search warrant. Open up. You're going to grab a gun and open the door?
No, I'm not going to open my door. I'm going to grab my gun and defend my home, and that's what I have a right to do. I think it was Franklin who said, those who think they can trade liberty for security get neither.
No,
Well said.
They had a search warrant.
The man is in his home. He should have the right to defend it. And they could have done this differently. It was reckless and ill-conceived.
All right, listen to Joe. Here's Joe from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Here you go, Joe. I mean, again, I give my point.
That's okay. Your name's Vito, right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me turn it around on you. All right. Let's go with your line of thinking for a minute. Okay, now, You are in charge. You're in charge. You're running the show. You have intelligence that very bad, dangerous things are going on at this residence. Now, it's gotten to the point where it's time to go serve a lawful, constitutionally lawful, and I'm big into the Constitution. I can't stand violating anybody's rights, and I'm with you on that. So now you've got your ducks in a row, and it's time to go. How would you run the thing safely? Where first of all, this isn't the pecking order when we do law enforcement work. We don't want. Hang on a second. Hang on.
I don't have the intel.
No, hang on a second. Hang on. You got to express your point. Let me ask you. Okay, so it's time for you to go do it, and you have intelligence, real bad guy. And let's say you know this. You bad guy. You have that information. Time to do this. Now, the pecking order goes in law enforcement. The first people we protect are innocent people, civilians. The second people we protect is us and our partners, the cops. The third people we protect is the suspect. That's the pecking order. That's how it is. So it's time for you to do this. You're in charge. You know he's a bad guy. You know he's prone to violence. How are you going to handle this without getting anybody hurt? Let me hear your take on it.
Well, like I said, Joe, I don't have the intel you guys had, and I will defer to your expertise in that situation. However, what would have been wrong with having a group of policemen go out there and ask the man to come out of his house and tell him, we have a warrant, do everything you did, but then ask the man to come out of the house and talk to you and look out the window and actually have a dialogue with the guy before you go in and just shoot a man in his home.
Well,
that's what I'm asking. Now, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know where the sense comes in.
Vito, hang on. Let him answer. Vito, you just asked the question. Let him answer. Hang on. Go ahead.
Let me answer your question. What you're describing, that's fine, and that's what the officers did. Only they did it with gear to protect themselves. And I'm telling you, as a cop, when I go to calls, there are times that I will, depending on the situation and the intelligence or the information I have, all I've got is my handgun on my belt on my hip. But there's other times I have my shotgun, or there's other times I have my rifle. It depends on what the information is that I have. Nothing says we are not violating anybody's rights or anything else. If we get a valid, constitutionally valid search warrant, we need to serve it in the safest way possible. Over the years of civilians getting injured and killed, officers being injured and killed, we've developed tactics and protocol. See, now, I'm a conservative, and I love conservatives. I'm going to tell you something. The conservatives are yelling around and raving about crime being out of control, and they're right. It's insanely out of control. So the officers are tasked with trying to stem it and take care of it. So we develop tactics and protocol within the Constitution to do it, which is exactly what happened. So then when we go do it, we get hosed because a guy who happened to be in the military was the target of the search warrant, comes down the hallway with a rifle and turns it on the cops. I'm going to tell you something. If it was patrol officers that walked up to the door and said, hey, come on out and talk to us, how do you know that guy's not going to start shooting through the walls? Because that happens. And now, I'm not comparing this to Waco. This has nothing to do with Waco. I'm just talking about when the Koresh people started firing through the walls, it took cops out. Well, nobody wants to get shot. So our tactics are developed first to protect the innocent people, and that includes the innocent people in the house, and then it's to protect us, and the bad guys last. And if the bad guy would have did what he was told to do, he'd be alive today.
And let's remind people, again, you were part of the SWAT team in the 90s.
Right.
You were sent to go serve search warrants just like this.
Right.
And nobody that you encountered doing this came out with a gun and started pointing it at you the way Jose Morena did, right?
No, I was never involved in a call like this, no.
So, I mean, again, all he had to do was open the door. That's all he had to do. They had intel on him saying that he was up to some bad stuff. Again, you've talked to the investigators, Joe. You have talked to the SWAT team. You've talked to investigators, people involved in this.
Right.
And again, you say that when all the information comes out, people are going to be surprised.
Yes, they will.
Like Vito and like some others. Okay. More. We're trying to squeeze in one or two more. Coming back. 4 minutes. News Talk 790 KNST.
Hear about it.
President Obama is going